Let's start with a really fundamental question. Is your brain a generator creating your consciousness from scratch? Or is it more like a receiver, just tuning into something that's already out there? This idea sits right at the very edge of neuroscience. And honestly, the answer could change everything we think we know about ourselves. I mean, just think about that for a second. This single question challenges one of the biggest assumptions of modern science. For centuries, we've basically believed our entire reality is cooked up right between our ears. But what if our brain isn't the author of the story, but it's just the radio playing the song? So, to really get why that idea is so radical, we first have to understand the story we've been told for decades, the standard materialist model of the mind. Yeah, for a long time, the standard model has been pretty clear. Consciousness is just what happens when 86 billion neurons start firing in this incredibly complex symphony. Your brain is a biological engine, right? It produces thoughts and feelings, kind of like a factory produces goods. And when that engine powers down, well, the lights go out. For good. But what about the stuff that doesn't really fit into that neat little box? According to some researchers, like the Harvard-trained neuroscientist Dr. Diane Hennacy Powell, there are some serious cracks in this foundation, anomalies that the standard view either just dismisses or flat out ignores. So let's look at the first puzzle piece that just doesn't seem to fit. It's a story that actually became a huge podcast phenomenon. The podcast is called The Telepathy Tapes, and it gets into her pretty provocative research. She suggests that some neurodivergent people can completely bypass the normal sensory channels. We're talking hearing, sight, touch, and just access information directly. I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction. Okay, now just look at this number for a second. This is the accuracy rate that Dr. Powell is reporting in her semi-controlled telepathy tests. We're talking about nonverbal children spelling out complex foreign words or answering questions that there's no way they could have known the answer to. It is an extraordinary, almost unbelievable claim. Now, of course, when you make extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary evidence, and there is a ton of skepticism here. As you can see, critics argue the mechanism isn't some consciousness field, but something more mundane, like unconscious cueing from the people assisting them. They point out that in really strict, double-blind studies, this crazy accuracy usually drops right back down to chance. And as of now, this research hasn't passed peer review. So the bottom line is, while this stuff is incredibly provocative, the scientific jury is still very, very much out. A future collaboration with a respected institution like UVA's Division of Perceptual Studies, well, that could be the key to moving these claims out of the realm of anecdote and into established science. Okay, so that's one type of data that doesn't quite fit. Now let's turn to another. And this one doesn't come from the world of neurodiversity, but from the very brink of death itself. The mystery of near-death experiences. This, right here, is the key concept, okay? This isn't about tunnels of light or feelings of peace. This is about people seeing and hearing things that are demonstrably real, things that can be checked out later, all while they are, for all clinical purposes, dead. I mean, just try to wrap your head around this. A woman is clinically dead. Her eyes are closed. Her brain is shutting down. How in the world could she possibly have known about this one specific, weird detail? And this just perfectly illustrates the puzzle. A specific detail, later verified, perceived without any physical senses. It wasn't a guess, it wasn't a dream, it was a fact that was confirmed after the event. And you might think, okay, that's one crazy story, but it's not. A major review looked at almost 300 of these out-of-body experiences, and they found that this percentage, 97.6%, of the things people reported seeing were completely realistic. And even crazier, of the people who were able to go back and investigate their own experiences, not a single one found an inaccuracy. And here is the huge scientific paradox. Look at this timeline. At 0 seconds, cardiac arrest hits. Within just 10 to 30 seconds, the brain's electrical activity, the EEG, just flatlines. It should be completely offline. And yet, this is exactly when these complex, lucid, real-world experiences are being reported. And yet, some recent studies have detected these surprising surges of brain activity later on during CPR. But that doesn't explain how these coherent perceptions are happening when the brain is supposedly silent. So, how can we possibly connect these two totally different phenomena, this telepathy in autistic kids and verified consciousness in clinical death? Well, there's a single, pretty radical hypothesis that tries to link them both. This idea completely flips the standard model on its head. It suggests that the brain's main job isn't to create our small individual reality, but to actually limit and process a much, much larger one, just to make it manageable enough for us to survive. And this is the theory that connects all the dots. Whether we're talking about a neurodivergent brain where the filter is just wired differently, or a dying brain where the filter is shutting down, the result might be the same. The filter isn't broken, it's just more open. It might be letting more of reality in, not less. You know, the best analogy is one we've already mentioned. Think of a radio. A radio doesn't create the music, right? It just detects a broadcast that's already in the air and then decodes it into sound. In this model, our brain isn't the musician, it's the receiver. So, where does all of this leave us? Well, it points towards a potential new way of thinking about the mind altogether. Look, when you take all this together, it doesn't prove anything definitively, not yet. But it strongly suggests that the current materialist model we have is incomplete. These aren't just a few isolated anecdotes. These are patterns of data that are screaming out for a better explanation. And this isn't about belief or religion or any kind of wishful thinking. It's about the absolute core principle of science. You have to follow the data, no matter how strange or uncomfortable the destination might be. And so, we're left with this massive question that could really define the next frontier of science. The debate shifts from how does the brain make a mind to something way more profound. If our brains are receivers, what signal are we built to tune into? And maybe more importantly, what else is out there on the dial?